outgained a buck 35 to 51 in this game, a huge indicator of where the final score is going to be. How do you get that going when you have such a talented +1 in the run game in your quarterback without just saying, Jayden, go find us the 100 yards rushing?
You either got to get him going, running the football with his legs, some design QB runs, which you don't want to do for Jayden Daniels because he can do it on his own. I think he's a better scrambler than he is a designed run guy. And also, you have to hit some short passes. They average, 3.9 yards a pass? That's not going to get it done either. If this was a college football game, Jeff Hafley's Boston College team beats Cliff Kingsbury Texas Tech squad. So this was a masterclass of defensive coverage and defensive scheme against Cliff Kingsbury. They couldn't hit the short passes, they could not run the football, and nothing worked for them offensively, and Green Bay did what they wanted. So if you're going to try to get things going in the run game, you either are going to have to, what we talked about earlier in the week, Joe, allow Jayden Daniels to call plays from the line of scrimmage, go up tempo to dictate the terms and not allow Green Bay to dictate, because that's all they did tonight. And that's how you get things going. You could have passed to set up the run. They couldn't do either, so nothing worked for them offensively.
Let's get to the offense on the other side here, because again, I think the word that immediately comes to mind for me is balance with this Green Bay offense. Uncertainty in the wide receiver room, still not an issue. This time, Jordan Love leans into his tight end and Tucker Kraft. Love goes for 292, 2 touchdowns, hasn't thrown an interception in now 9 consecutive starts. Kraft goes for 124. Nobody else goes for more than 44 yards, Emery. How do you make sense of this passing attack? It was obviously plenty, but how much does the tight end unlock things in this version of the Green Bay Packers?
When you have a good tight end that can get open and make plays like that, it makes you difficult to defend as a whole offensively, because now you kind of shrink the field to where everything on the outside starts to work. They went on 2 90-plus yard drives. That right there allowed them to get into any kind of groove they wanted to get into. And when you have 2 tight ends like they have, they were able to really balance the offense out. They got inside the red zone. There was 3 or 4 inside the red zone. That's why they were able to come away with those or pay off those long 90-plus yard drives. So when you have a Tucker Kraft, and now next week's opponent is going to come in and try to game plan for him, well, guess who's going to eat? These receivers out on the perimeter. So when they have these healthy weapons like B-Mac talked about, if they're out there healthy on the perimeter, we saw Savion Williams get a touch and, show some creativity. That's something to keep your eye on down the line, along with the efficient running game. So they haven't been explosive yet, but they were pretty doggone consistent, which got them to win.
And see, that's the luxury that Matt LaFleur has in the midst of his offense when you talk about the passing game. It's not like they're Destiny Child where you just have Beyonce and that's it. No, they're like New Edition, where any given time someone can be the lead singer for that particular song and they can still do numbers. So tonight, it was Tucker Kraft. Next week, it could be Matthew Golden. Who knows? But that's a great luxury to have, because they have so many guys that any given moment, they can take that mic and go ahead and bring the song in, take it all the way home, and have all of us dancing from start to finish. And guess who was the lead singer tonight? It was Tucker Kraft, and he did a great job. Man, make sure you go get some cheese and wine.
Where they going to have to cool it now, though? It's those 10 penalties for 77 yards.
You just wanted to get
I wanted to get that reference in there. He brought up New Edition. I had to get that reference in there.
I wasn't going to stand for the disrespect of Kelly Rowland. But we do have a show to do. So maybe let's go like this. If Week 1 was their hit single, the Green Bay Packers, this was a follow-up album, and it's been a statement made in each one of these instances. The Lions in Week 1 to say, North runs through us, and then what we thought preseason would be an NFC contender in the Washington Commanders, and they handle them with little issue either, Mac. What sort of statement do you take away from this first 2 weeks of the season, this first 10 days of the season for the Green Bay Packers?
They're opening a lot of eyes in the National Football League. But what I want to see, Joe Emery, is the same dominance, the same production at home. I want to see this travel, right? That's what I want to see. Because when you're talking about being a championship team, what you do at home, it follows you. Now, they have the recipe to have success on the road. Great defensive play and running the football. But I need to see, because to your point, both games, Week 1 and Week 2, Lambeau Field, outstanding atmosphere, electric atmosphere. But let's see this same production go on the road. And I'm not saying that I don't think they can do it, but those are the things I want to see. And the last thing I like to say, too, in terms of moving forward, Emery, key nugget, the penalties. They left a lot of points on the scoreboard. They left a lot of points on the scoreboard. It seems like at times they kind of start playing with their food. Luckily, they got a great defense that was able to bail the offense out in moments because of penalties. But when they're playing against a better collective team that has legit championship aspirations with veteran experience in the backfield throughout their playmaker positions, those things can really come back to haunt you. But right now, in 2 weeks of play, the NFC North, I understand there's still a lot of football left to be played, but it seems like Green Bay, they're starting to state their claim to be the kings of the North in the NFC.
It's funny because if we're looking at this from the preseason perspective, we were looking at the Lions and Commanders as two potential playoff teams to get back in there, right? So we saw them take care of business there. I think the biggest game on the schedule so far will be this Browns game. We know the Browns don't have the dynamic passing game. We know the Browns may not be a good team collectively by the end of the season. So how disciplined can you be? And to B-Mac's point, the penalties. How can you clean up those mistakes, tie up those loose ends? Can you come out and play a clean, disciplined game against a team you are technically supposed to beat? And that's going to be what we're going to watch for. We'll learn a lot more about what lies ahead for Green Bay long term with how they handle week 3, because you could be sitting up there resting on your laurels after beating both last year's playoff participants. But if you come out there and lay an egg versus the Browns, therein lies, well, we can't trust you until you prove otherwise.
A couple of points well taken there. Let's see it on the road now. Let's see how you respond to a matchup where you're likely going to be once again favored, but that is 2 wins against teams that totaled 27 wins a season ago in the Lions and in the Commanders, each one of them reaching the NFC title game over the last 2 years. Exactly where Green Bay is trying to get back to. A lot of work between now and then, but these first couple work samples have been pretty sharp. If Green Bay's making us say, wow, maybe Washington's making us say, after this one, even the win in week 1 over the Giants, they spent about 2 hours pushing their food around. You walk away with what level of concern from this road loss for Washington?
Washington doesn't have any explosiveness. They lack the explosiveness they had last year. And a lot of that was Jayden Daniels being Jayden Daniels in critical moments, right? But when you look at individual talents around him, you say, okay, well, who are the threats? Who are the vertical threats? Who's going to scare you to get you up out of that shell coverage? They didn't have that tonight, and teams are going to say, well, wait a minute. If they don't have anyone that can threaten us deep down the field, man, we'll sit there and cover 4 and just drive on the football and make plays in the open field. So they're going to have to find some ways to either generate explosive plays or find other explosive players that are out there in free agency or guys they can go make a trade for, because right now they have good players, but they lack explosive players, if you understand what I'm saying.
But to your concern, Emery, about having a downfield presence, they have one on the team. He was their down the field presence last year. He's just not in any football shape, and that's Terry McLaurin. He spent the entire summer training camp preseason holding in, not doing anything. And we're seeing the results of him not being on the grass. The timing isn't there, because Scary Terry is still a guy who can get behind coverage. We saw that last year, right? But it's just the rhythm is not there. His feet are not under him, and now they're going through the growing pains until he gets acclimated to being right there in the huddle with those guys. It's not about learning a new scheme, a new strategy. It's the same playbook. It's about being in football shape. And we talked about Micah Parsons being on the pitch count. It hasn't really hurt Green Bay because they have an abundance of pass rushers. Well, even with Scary Terry in the lineup, if he's not really showing up, it hurts Washington because they don't have a plethora of pass catchers at the wide receiver position that you can rely on outside of Deebo Samuel. So they got to get creative. Cliff Kingsbury has to get creative. I would, for one, just go tempo. Just spread everyone out and let your quarterback be a playmaker. That's what he did at LSU. That's what he did through spurts a year ago. Until you get things going, that's the best way to neutralize pass rushers. Go spread them out, go tempo, and just utilize speed.
We know Terry can go get it. I will point out they did not backfill the speed of Olamide Zaccheaus. A small part of what they did a season ago, I believe their third leading receiver, no longer there, now a Chicago Bear, but he was that 4-2, you better respect it, so Terry could come under it at 25 yards. It's a different group with Washington. They got a talented quarterback, which is the biggest piece of the puzzle, and they will likely figure it out, but plenty to figure out following this loss in Green Bay. Thank you, fellas.